Hey, how you going? Happy, what is it, Wednesday evening. How are you?
Okay. Good. Happy
Good.
hump day, hey?
Yeah. Yes, hump day, absolutely.
Yeah.
So welcome everyone, and we're up to, what were we, number 10
Yeah.
session
Double.
episode. Double digits. We made
Yeah.
it. Ah. So this is Tim here, everyone that might be new in watching in. So Tim's from For You Body Fitness down in Melbourne. So today's topic, we were going to actually cover off something that's real topical in people that we talk to a lot, and was around being selfish and why people feel it is selfish to actually look after themselves. So, but we thought we'd do, actually just before we came on, we were just going to do a bit of a spin on what we were going to do and pivot, because with the situation that's going on down in Melbourne, we thought this was a really good time for us. And obviously, Tim, you are in Melbourne and have your business down there and, a family down there. So thought it was a good way for us to, this is a big thing for people at the moment, pivoting again and having this change. And we thought we'd talk about the mindset and maybe some tips around how to work through this, these challenging times, and just get some tips off you of how you're managing it right now down there having a business. So thanks for being here, everyone, and say hi, interact if you're on live, and we'd love to hear from you. So talk to me, Tim. What's going on down your neck of the woods at the moment?
Yeah, well, don't come to Victoria. We're not allowed out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the update is that obviously we've got the coronavirus that is buzzing in the northwestern suburbs at the moment. It's been growing and the testing's been quite significant, and then what they've discovered is it's probably spread really, really rapidly without anybody taking much notice, and then now they're doing mass testing and now we're finding it all out. And all of Melbourne Metro went into back to stage 3 restrictions, which we've all experienced across the country already. And that we go back to your 4 rules, right? Where you're only allowed to go out for exercise, for work, for if you need to go to the doctors, or for if you need to go to the shops for essentials. So
Sure.
essentially, so I think one of the things that we can take away straight away is that we've done this already. So as frustrating as it might be to go back into the lockdown, it's not something that is brand new this time. You would think it might be with the amount of toilet paper that's been sold over the last 2 days. Which I don't understand.
So wouldn't they have learned from the first time?
What's that? Sorry.
I said, wouldn't you think people would have learnt from the first time? But anyway, humans are very interesting, aren't they? So I just wanted to ask you, Tim, because you've been in the around this for a few weeks now, because things kind of happened with your family a few weeks ago. Do you want to just maybe talk about that and what you've been kind of doing, how you've been handling that time of that, affecting your family?
Yeah, and it's a bit crazy. So essentially one of our suburbs in southeast Melbourne was considered the hotspot. Now, it's important to put some context around the data and what the media blows up, because this is we're living in strange times. So we were a hotspot, but we had 5 cases. So it wasn't everybody you walked past as coronavirus.
Yeah.
There were 5 cases. And what happened with us is that 2 of the cases were children that actually attended our school, so that our kids go to. So what had happened there is we had the school shut down and cleaned and all that sort of stuff. And my partner and our 2 kids that go to that school, Bentley and Ken, they got tested for the coronavirus, all that sort of stuff, and no symptoms or anything. We just wanted, we both, my partner is studying to be a nurse, or she's just finished. Congratulations, Morgan. Got the certificate.
Yeah, okay, Morgan. Awesome. Congratulations.
But she was doing placement and she was working at the moment, so it was important that so it's important that she got tested and got cleared. And obviously, I am a mobile personal trainer, so we go out to people's houses and we're interacting with people all the time. So it's important that we're as COVID safe as it can be. So that was a couple of days in self quarantine initially. So we've had our own little scare down here and all that sort of thing. And it is, I guess, there is that range of emotions. And Kate, we've talked about the emotional component of all of this a lot, like all this sort of stuff, right? With behaviors and values and what sort of stuff. But there's another part of that, and that's that reactive emotion. And what's happening at the moment is there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety, and frustration and anger. Like we put up a post in our group this morning, actually, one of my trainers put it up and was talking about, finding enough, one of the coaching methods we talk about, which is cool. So Jem did great there. She's learned and absorbed and working through it. But, for her, it pops up anger, right? So the gym was taken away from her. I know for me, we were meant to go camping for the next 4 days. So it's going to be my first holiday since coronavirus started, just 4 days with the family, no tech. And then we get 2 days away from that. It just gets like it feels like it gets torn away from you, right? And
the rug's pulled from underneath you,
Yeah, and you obviously had that emotional response. So I've given myself all of today to be as angry as I want. And that can be, I guess, part of the coping mechanism is making sure that if the feelings are popping up, you are a bit scared or overwhelmed or anxious or frustrated, give yourself time to feel that and fully express that. Now I've been very generous with my 24-hour time cap on my anger, but I'm being really annoyed. So I've just given myself all of today to just go, well, I'm going to stick it to the world if I need to, and don't mess with me. And then tomorrow we're going to be good.
That's the thing. It's super important to do that, and how, if that takes you, a couple of hours, an hour, 24 hours, whatever you need, is very important, because otherwise that can build up to long time of frustrations, and then your reactions, your emotional responses, and that can lead to anxiety, depression, all of that rippling effect of not actually dealing with emotions, right? And you touched on, and we'll come back with some tips on, some more tips on that, I think, to help people to maybe work through these times. But you mentioned something about, social media, and, it's obviously back on the news, and it's making sure that we're not actually watching it all the time, and making sure you're getting the resources and the information from factual resources and information, and not actually watching it over and over and over and over again, because the same information that happened last time, the same information is coming out, and you don't want to be filling yourself up with all this information over and over, because what's different to a day before or the morning to the evening, and people just end up sitting there watching it and sends you in a state of anxiety and feeling down and depressed and even more angry. So that's a really big thing that people need to be mindful of, don't they?
Oh, totally. And you got to remember, the media is an entertainment business, right? Whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Channel 7 News, Channel 9, whatever, they're here to entertain. And one of the things in entertainment, you might have heard it before, it's called the genre of horror, right?
Yeah.
And super engaging. And then you got the genre of drama, And these things, they hook people in, they make us feel things. And if you watch them enough, you will get pinned on those feelings. And especially with the latest update, you'll notice all the branding for all of the coronavirus stuff is like bright, aggressive red. Yeah. It is, this is going to attack you. Look, it's not by any means should it be taken lightly, and we should be taking the appropriate things, but we need to make sure we're also having the appropriate emotional responses to this. And neutral is the way to go, right? Be informed, know what you need to do, so you can create a plan to work around it, or not work around it necessarily, but work with the scenario. If you're in Metro Melbourne and you're back in a stage 3 and you run a business, like for us, it definitely impacts how we do things and what we need to do. But you need to not be freaked out about the situation, right? If you start to get really stressed, you'll freak out, you'll make bad decisions, you'll pull the trigger too early on some things and too late on others, you'll make mistakes, you'll procrastinate. So it's important to find a way to, I guess, come back and go, well, for me, it's always what's the actual data. So, look up how many is in your local suburbs, and are you doing the right things yourself? Are you going and high-fiving and patting locals? I probably wouldn't do that right now.
What's your contribution, or what's our contribution to what do we need to be doing as a family or as a business, or, being clear on our thinking so that you can make the right choices. Because when you are emotional, when you are angry, you're not making the best responses, are your best decisions, because you're not in a neutral state to be able to be clear on the right decisions to be making for you and your family and your business.
Yeah, exactly. And especially if you're feeling anxious or angry, you might be feeling attacked. Which means that you're always in a defensive position. So Yeah. So if you're in that defensive position, you're going to be reactive. You're going to look at someone sideways, and if someone makes eye contact with you, the way you respond to that person's eye contact is different based on your state, not theirs, based on yours. You know, so if you are someone and you're in a defensive position, like, why are they looking at me? You know?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
But if you're in a good mood and you're walking down the street, you go, oh, they might be checking you out, or they might be friendly.
Yeah.
You know? Like two totally different. I think definitely one part of that I'd like to touch on is just remember, like, the media is designed, right, to entertain, engage us and draw us in. And you've got to learn as we get older and more mature to pull the right facts out and understand, is it emotionally triggering you? If you're watching the news and you were good before the news and then you're not good after the news, did it serve the purpose? Did you learn anything new? Probably not.
Yeah.
You know, it affected you.
And also with getting the factual information off Facebook as well. Like, people are sharing different things and just making sure that those resources are, the factual information as well. Go to the government pages and the pages that are actually going to give you the proper information.
Yeah, don't go on a forum.
Yeah, because they're opinions, aren't they? They end up being someone's interpretation of something, and that interpretation may not be actually the right interpretation of, and you're getting not the right information. So make sure you're clear on that. So some tips to help people to work through these challenging times, is we talked about working through those emotions and feeling those emotions. And so what are some tips for, that you do? And I'll share a couple in a minute. What do you do when you're in these situations? How do people, if they're not used to, working through these emotions, people generally just either go away or, run away from it type thing? What do you recommend that people do to feel these things?
Yeah, and I think you mentioned it just then, right? My first bit of advice is to just give yourself permission to feel whatever you're feeling. And it will pop up, as I said, in a whole heap of different range of things. So it might be overwhelmed, it could be anxious, it could just be a little bit on edge, it could be angry, it could be a little bit depressed or guilty or whatever will pop up for you, right?
Yeah.
And just give yourself permission to fully feel. And then obviously the next step is then express that emotion. Yeah. So if you're angry, allow yourself to go be angry. Yeah. If you're overwhelmed, allow yourself to just be in overwhelm for a moment. Just sit there and just it'll start to dissipate. You'll feel better.
And other ways that you can for people with anger is, even if you're near somewhere and you can go to a cliff or something like that, not jump off the cliff. Don't get angry and but yelling and going in your car and just having a scream, because letting that energy out of your body is really, really powerful. And another way is actually getting pillows on your bed or the lounge and actually hitting into the pillow and get that. When you actually voice it and release it, it is so powerful to be able to release those emotions. And it can be sadness, and you want to have a cry, allow the body to actually cry, and it is okay to do that. And some people don't actually know how to identify what those emotions are, and a really good way to identify the emotions is just by actually sitting and breathing and closing your eyes and feeling those sensations on your body, whether they're tingling, and you can start feeling it and breathe into the body, which allows you to then start to maybe put a word to or put a feeling to what that emotion is, because sometimes we're not when you start out doing this stuff, it's really can be challenging to actually know what they actually are. And journaling is another really good way as well, like writing down, I'm frigging frustrated with this situation, why, and you can say whatever you want without judgment in a journal to be able to get it out of your mind, and it actually feels really powerful. And even if you rip it up and burn it, throw it away, it's a really great way to release it and go, I'm done with that. Like release it.
Yeah. And that's, I give the same advice, right? You can always burn a piece of paper and it doesn't exist anymore. So you can write whatever you need to. Yeah. And you might find the anger might start off at COVID and finish at your children. But that's okay, because that can be a normal part of the process too, right? Like this sometimes is just the final bit. I was an example of this. I was talking to my partner before, and she's knowing that I've been in the mood all day. She actually kicked me out of the house earlier to calm down. She goes, she'd go in a good way, right? Like she's quite emotionally intelligent, and we were just in the kitchen, and she just said something. I just reacted quickly, like just sharply, and she's like, "You should go to work." I was like, "Okay." And so I left. Like we don't have to have an argument or anything about it. So it's really cool. But it's I've sort of lost my train of thought a little bit. I don't know where I was going. It was going to be important. Maybe.
While you're thinking about it, because we'll probably come back to you, but that's a great way to walk away. Walk away and take a few breaths and have time to yourself, or go and listen to something that's going to, some meditation or something like that. And also, when you go through these stages of feeling emotions, you might find that it might start at frustration. Once you actually feel it go through, feel it through your body, it can move to anger, then it can move to sadness, and then you keep breathing through it. It actually can end up feeling like you actually want to laugh, or it changes into, such a different emotion to what you actually started with. And that's when it subsides and starts to, you start to feel a bit better. And it's really interesting. And then just kind of sit with it and feel through it. It's really powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a technique that helps so much. And then, like, once that bucket is, it's like having different cups, right? We've talked about this sort of stuff before. Once you've emptied the cup, right, then you can then fill that cup with whatever you like. So and normally for me, I like to try and get back to a peace or calmness, so you don't have to be feeling super happy, but you just got to be able to, I call it just the soul should be smooth, right, just settled, so that you can then do what you need to do, or make the decisions that you need to make that are going to be positive. So, the goal, for example, for us is like, okay, frustration today also means no big decisions for Tim today, but that means big decisions come tomorrow as well. So, by putting that time on and know that I'm going to wake up feeling great tomorrow, because I've given myself a day to process this, I'll be productive tomorrow, and we are back on track, right? Like it's just out for one day and we're good.
Yeah. So, I follow this guy in the UK, and he said a long time ago, and always sat with me, and it's very similar. And he calls it his pity party. If something happens, he gets the shits, things aren't going well, or, he's angry about something or frustrated with something, he gives himself a pity party period of time where he says, stuff it, I'm going to do whatever I fucking want, excuse my language, and I'm going to sulk, I'm going to be angry, I'm going to allow myself all these things. I might have a glass of wine or a drink, or I'm going to play games. And he's a successful businessman, and he just says, I'm going to sit in my room and sulk and eat, and then I'm done tomorrow. Once the pity party's done, I'm back to it and I'm refocused, And I think, I say that to some of my clients, have your pity party and let's move on tomorrow.
Yeah, awesome. It's such a good message.
It is, isn't it? If it comes back up, it's not ignoring it as well, because it can resurface, right? And it's allowing it again. But then the more you deal with it, the shorter the emotional length and response gets.
Yeah, and that can be the benefit too, right? Because once you get comfortable with doing this stuff, it's quicker and quicker. So something might trigger you in 3 days, and you can just go bang and it's gone now, right?
Yeah.
Because we've done the work on day one to empty that cup. So when it fills up, it's not as full. Doesn't hold as much weight or as much pressure in your body. So it's easier to empty.
Yeah, because it's not bubbling up at the surface of the bucket or the glass, is it? It's like when you keep piling things on top of it, it's going to explode, isn't it? So the more of this work you do, the emotional cup or bucket starts going down. So you're not always filling up, which that leads to explosions and anxiety and depression and all those types of things. So it's good to deal with it as it kind of arises in a safe. It's in a safe way too, isn't it? Because these things can lead people to be that, when it's a build up of anger, and that's when people respond in a aggressive way and not a resourceful, a resourceful way, which isn't great, So anything can, a bit of road rage or something can actually trigger someone to make a, really silly mistake.
Yeah, exactly right. Empty the cups, people.
So I'm not sure if anyone has any questions. If you do, please comment below, and we can come back to you on those questions that you might have. But everyone, look after yourself, and just to summarize tonight, it's really just allow yourself to work through these emotions. Make sure you you know, looking at the right resources that you're going to get the information that's going to be clear, and you can, you know, have the data, have the information you need to make the decisions and contribution, the things that you need to do for your business, for yourself, your family, and for your community. And try and, you know, just not watch the news all the time. Just, you know, you don't want to be filled up with that information when it's really, as Tim explained, if you haven't watched it, please rewatch it. It's been, you know, been great information. You know, it's there to, you know, put us into fear and you know, build us up to, you know, to be able to, and we have those reactions from, you know, building up those stories. So, yeah, anything else you want to add before we go, Tim?
Nah, stay safe and stay smart, my friends. I think that's the key, right? Stay informed, understand what role you have to play in all of this, and just support your friends. You know, like, I think one of the things that really helped me today, actually, which is something good to do, is I just got on the phone to my brother, and we just had a really good chat because he was meant to be camping with me, so we got to let it out. That was the emotional release component for me this afternoon. Was we were abusing the world on the phone. That was not a family-friendly conversation, obviously, but we were just upset together, and we finished the conversation laughing and giggling and just waiting for good times again. So look after each other. Reach out if you know somebody that is down here that could be in the situation, because it definitely affects everyone. You do feel like you're just spending up again. But we'll get through the skill set. Hey, we've done it already, so we'll do it again.
And really, like, another thing to finish on is really focus on the things you can control. Focus on the things you do have in your life and people around you, and, you know, not on the things that you haven't got right now, but focus on the things you do have. And when you look from a place of gratitude, yeah, as you said at the beginning, Tim, we've gone through it. You're a lot more skilled to be able to work through this. It's no shock, you know, it's a shock, but it's not as much of a shock because we know, you know, you've got some tools and your toolkit of, you know, what's happened before, so we can adjust and adapt a lot quicker this time. So stay safe and look after yourselves, and, yeah, reach out if you need any help, you know, for your friends or family or any of the helplines. Don't do it alone.
Yeah, we're here for you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tim, again for your time, and those that watched in, have a great evening. Stay safe and see you next week.
Thanks, legends. Bye.
Thank you.